So where should I start? So let's start with this one here. This was supposed to be my dietary intake because I have developed another disease. And there you go, another real life tidbits, because what are you gonna do? And it's a hyperparathyroidism, which means that my parathyroid hormone is all over the place. It has its complication with my calcium level. It has its complication with my kidney function. And as I'm getting older and none of these diseases have any cure, I have to keep an eye more of my diet. Well, that went completely out the window. As soon as my mother became sick, this take over my mom's activity, take over this, because there's just not enough room. I started off instinctively planning my mother's happenings and coordination of her healthcare, the movements between hospitals, the movement between healthcare teams and all that here, who to follow up. It was extremely stressful, and because this is my daily planner, I put everything here, and very soon I realized there's just not enough room. It was completely overwhelmed. So I moved here. The only cousin I have was this one here, and of course my dietary requirement went out the window. As soon as the priority shifted, everything is dropped. So this one here, I believe, is the cat's eating pattern. So this one I can share with you. And because of a trip that I did, again with a big shake, usually there's a massive life event and the pattern changed. With the cat is when we go away and her eating habit completely changed because we're not in the house. That's when I realized, when I kind of suspected anyway, that part of the problem was that I was drip feeding her because I was too scared of her not being able to pace herself. I was too scared of giving her everything and for her to eat the whole lot and have nothing left to eat the whole day. I drip feed her, and it becomes a vicious cycle where, because she's an anxious cat, I think it's almost as if she doesn't know when the next food is gonna come, and so she eats everything because she doesn't know when the next food's gonna come, because there isn't a fixed time, because I simply, you know, give it to her when she wants it, and it just, so I think we really have stopped giving her fish. It's a treat, but then it's affecting, this is what happened. I went away to Queenstown, and we asked a family member to feed her once a day, and that's it. We came back, and the eating pattern has stabilized by the 12th of April, and that's it. And so that's the end of that book. And if you want to see this is the music nib that I replaced this Zoom nib with, and so it makes my handwriting a lot tidier. I noticed that with stubs, it made my handwriting, because I write this way in block letters, and it makes it a lot tidier. When I write with a fine nib, it makes my handwriting extremely messy. But I noticed that when I do cursive, my handwriting is tidier with finer nibs. So that's that one there, and that one there. As soon as my mom becomes sick, the planning have moved digitally. I do not like digital planning at all. But what happened was a lot of people are involved, and update had to be done really, really quickly. And my siblings are scattered in different countries. This is not fast enough. When it's just for myself, it's fine. This just couldn't keep up in a fast moving, very fluid, dynamic situation and circumstance where there are multiple stakeholders who are constantly in need of updating and coordinating. And so this become neglected as well. And so these two, this is the memory keeping journal. This was stalling as well because there just isn't any time let me rephrase, there just wasn't or hasn't been, and it still isn't, enough mental space for me personally where I can sit down and write down what happened that day. For me, that type of activity need a very particular set of physical environment, which currently isn't conducive to that. Now, for example, working on this keyboard have forced my mind to sit still, and it actually have provided me with a break that I needed. It's the respite that I need. Engaging in a creative decision making, engaging in hunting for parts, engaging for trying to figure out the right, most economical way to obtain certain parts from which vendors in which country, figuring out what to do in terms of my learning curve, and the rest of it is a combination of visual pleasure with the pleasure of the senses in terms of tactility, is that even a word, combined with some intellectual stimulation in terms of learning a new skill, learning new things, and all the rest of it. That was doing the job. In the end, memory keeping become just another thing I had to do, and I dropped it. And so now I'm slowly getting back into it, catching up with various important milestones, I suppose, that's worth noting. And the larger context of journaling on this format, as I've mentioned in a previous video, and I'll link up there or at the end of this video, was that I am committed to a 5-year Techo, which I would like to pair with this particular Techo in particular because of there is a date there. So I think this 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023 and 2024 will be the last year I am committed to doing it this way, and after that I'm leaving it behind for sure, because right now I am literally going through not going through the motion, but I'm literally, the only thing that is fueling me is a commitment to do it. No more, no less. The pleasure of it, I mean, this is too small, to be honest, for me, but I've made it work. So, finding a creative solution of making the tiny space work is, in terms of placing little trinkets and stickers from a cookie bar that was given for free from a bookshop in a particular town that my husband and I visited on one of our road trips, that sort of thing. That was part of the pleasure. The writing down of every event, making sure that the important event is recorded rather than the less so, deciding what is more important, what is less important. All that has been actually adding to my stress. I tend to do, in the past when I journal, I tend to do a lot of stream of consciousness, and there's just isn't enough space for this. So this is strictly memory keeping, which isn't new to me, but doing it in this space, doing it only this much space per day is certainly new, and it's certainly a challenge. It has continued to be a challenge, but it is one that I am determined to finish in 2024 and not earlier. So that's that. This is the cat's notes. We just been to the vet just a few minutes ago, and we spent a good hour just doing all the tests that I've always wanted the vet to explore but haven't. Since we adopted her in the end of 2018, I think this extensive battery of tests has only been done now. Her first blood test since the time that we've adopted her have been last year. We don't know when she was born exactly, but we were told she was 8 when we adopted her, and we don't know if she turned 8 or if she turned 9 that year. So we counted 2018 as her 8th birthday, and then we just counted from there. And so she's going into double digits. 8 and above is really the cutting point is 8 years old. So we literally adopted her as she embarked on her geriatric elderly years. And so we have to be conscious of what elderly cat an elderly cat might need. And so anyway, going back to the usefulness of this, so this has been a record of her weight, a record of her eating pattern, notes that I take in terms of her behavior, notes that I take in terms of what kind of tests that we might need to proactively ask the vet to do and to engage in a discussion with, and all that is here. So what I'm saying is that the cat diary is probably the one success story in this whole thing. My memory keeping, I think, is quite reasonably going okay, and my planning have took an unexpected turn that is going digital, not because I like it, but because it's been forced by circumstance. This is the eating pattern diary, which have stopped since April because her eating have stabilized, and so now I'm going to use the July to December to observe other things of hers. But as I mentioned, it is in storage somewhere and I can't find it. So there's another one here that I will use for, I honestly don't know, and it is potentially going to be abandoned, and I might potentially turn it into just a plain notebook for next year. The idea is to be more mindful as you force yourself to observe the sensation around you by writing it down. It worked occasionally, but what I found is that in the act of concentrating, of trying to compose, I'm actually taking myself out of the very mindfulness I'm trying to obtain through composition. So mindfulness of composition of words is a kind of mindfulness, I suppose, is the kind of mindfulness almost like when I'm creating. So composing is like creating, putting this keyboard together is like creating. And, you know, making videos, editing is like creating. Those are the things I found helpful to be more mindful, but the object of the mindfulness is the act itself. So in this case, it was the forming of the words. In this case, it was the composing of the keyboard. In this case, it's the editing of the composition of the video clips and of the narration and etc. And so trying to write, but trying to be mindful of the things I'm writing about hasn't worked. And so this has become an orphan, and I think it's a big waste. The good paper, so this is also likely to be converted next year into something completely undated and free-flowing. Luckily with Hobonichi, the printing, as I've mentioned, the plus about Hobonichi that I like is that the printing has been quite subtle, so that I found that I can write over them very easily. Like this, I can simply write over them quite easily and just pretend this is a blank page and just write over it. And so that is what I might do. The tricky part would be there are some thoughts in here that I've recorded that is true to the time indicated in this Techo. I'm just going to leave them wherever I'm going to leave them, and then one day if I do need a notebook, for example, like when I needed to test my inks, I simply use the enormous amount of note pages in the week 2021, and I think that is what I'm going to do. So I think that's about it for now, and I'll talk to you later when I potentially unbox my Hobonichi 2023 and setting them up. Bye.